This brushable lacquer is the top coat that I want to use on this board. In order to get ready for this to go on, I first put on a coat of sanding sealer. Now let's talk about what's going on here. I want to get a seal coat on the wood that I can then sand over so that it's ready for the next coat. I could do all of that with the lacquer. So why go to a sanding sealer at all? Well, here's the deal. Sanding sealer sands easier than lacquer does, and it's much less likely to gum up my sandpaper. So the problem with gumming up your sandpaper is that you can get what's called corning. You can get balls of finish in the sandpaper. Then, if you don't know they're there, as you're sanding and you pull one of those through the finish, you can end up with a big scratch in the finish. So with the sanding sealer, which is much easier to sand, you can see this white powder generating here. It's going to make my work a lot easier to do, and it's much less likely to clog and corn the sandpaper itself. Now, a couple other important facts. One is that whenever I'm sanding finish, I do that with what's called a sterrated sandpaper. Sterrated sandpaper has a lubricant in it, same thing. It helps prevent clogging so that you don't get corning. With lacquer-based finishes, I will remove the dust from this, but keep in mind that with lacquer finishes, each coat dissolves into the previous coat. So if there's a little bit of dust left on there, you're probably still going to be okay. Get it as clean as you can, but this layer is going to melt the previous layer, and chemically they're both going to come together. Once we've got that next coat on, if it's nice and smooth, you don't need to sand that one at all when you're using lacquer. You'll be able to put the next coat right into that first one without sanding, again, because the layers will chemically melt together. So starting with sanding sealer, nice and easy to sand. Next coat of lacquer, second coat of lacquer, doesn't need to be sanded unless you've got nibs in there that you're trying to remove. That way you're going to end up with a beautiful surface on your project with a nice lacquer finish.